The government has announced that defence spending will increase to 2.5% of GDP from the current baseline of 2.3%. The government has claimed that this will provide an extra £75 billion for defence over the next 6 years. Firstly, let's deal with more government dishonesty. This is a very misleading statistic. Even the government admits that this includes money that's already would have been likely to have been spent on defence. It seems that the actual amount over what already would have been spent is only about 20 billion, not 75 billion. This has been confirmed by the Institute for Fiscal Studies. Ben Zaranko, who's an economist at the IFS, tweeted that it's only a 75 billion increase over 6 years if you assume that spending would otherwise have been frozen in cash term for 6 years, something that is highly unlikely. He says this is such an unhelpful way to present the figures. I think that's quite a kind way of describing it. This is just more government lies. What's wrong with these people? Imagine someone trying to run a business on this basis where they were constantly inflating all figures to make them look better. The FT reports that the government estimates that getting military spending to 2.5% of GDP will cost an extra £4.5 billion a year by 2028-29. Looking at the breakdown of government spending, we can see that the defence spend is around £32 billion for 23-24. £4.5 billion represents a 14% increase. Although the government did present misleading data, this is actually a very significant increase. The government has been clear that there won't be any changes to total spending plans, so the money to pay for the increased defence spending must come from somewhere else. Sectors where spending is unprotected, like local government, prisons, further education colleges, etc. We really cannot withstand any more cuts in public services. The government has claimed that civil service cuts would finance the increased spending. The BBC website reports that Downing Street said the plans would be funded through existing commitments to reduce the civil service headcount to pre-COVID levels. But many are claiming that it will be difficult to make this level of savings from cuts in civil service jobs. The BBC quotes Hunt as saying that cutting public services will cost a great deal less compared to allowing Russia to succeed. But is this what we really want? It's likely to mean longer waiting lists for new passports, for driving tests, for driving licenses. Jeremy Hunt said that the civil service cuts are a choice we are making to invest in European security and defence. Is he joking? Public services are stretched to the limit. I did a video a couple of weeks ago on the fact that massive cuts are inevitable whoever is in government next. This defence commitment is making this situation even worse. Is this really the choice that the British public would support? I'm not sure. I've just done a video on the government's plan to cut welfare and the end of the so-called sick note culture. Sunak said in that context we can't afford a spiralling increase in the welfare bill, but apparently we can afford a significant increase in defence spending. I just don't understand this. Now, I should acknowledge that I am actually a pacifist. I'm against all war. I couldn't kill someone, nor could I press the nuclear button. I recognise that I'm in a minority on this, but it is important to acknowledge it because this probably colours my opinion on this issue. Personally, I would drastically cut the amount that we spend on defence. Ireland has around 1/4% military spending as a percentage of GDP. The UK spends 10 times this amount. I would like to have a debate on the UK becoming a neutral country. However, even if we do have an active defence policy, why do we need to have such high spending? This chart takes countries that are interesting to compare with the UK. Of the comparable countries, the UK is second only to the US. Our close neighbours, France, Germany, Spain, etc., are all significantly lower. Even China only has 1.6%, and we can see Ireland there with 0.23%. Why does the UK have to be so high? Grant Shapps has said that the increased spending means that we will continue to punch above our weight. I just wonder if part of this is a distorted view of how great Great Britain is. I'm not putting the UK down here, but the fact is that we're no longer a global military power in terms of our military capability and our influence in the world. We don't need to punch above our weight. We could just do what most other countries are doing. Finally, there's another important point that doesn't really seem to be often questioned. The defence industry is massively profitable for numerous private companies. The FT reports that BAE Systems, the leading supplier of ammunition to the UK's armed forces, is expected to be among the biggest beneficiaries of this increase in defence spending. For me, making profits from weapons is immoral. Again, I might be in a minority, but I personally couldn't profit from making things that will be used to kill people. Even if this was to cause a recovery in growth in the UK economy and created lots of high quality jobs, I would still think this. The UK's proposed increase in defence spending, masked by misleading statistics and funded by more cuts in essential services, raises serious ethical and fiscal concerns. Frankly, it's irresponsible. I would argue that this strategy benefits commercial interests at the cost of public welfare. It also inflates the UK's grandiose sense of its place in the world. We need a re-evaluation of our national priorities. I hope you found this information useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.